BlueSnap Tavano band.
I like
Okay, I see even more people coming in, so we can just give it a minute and we can do a little bit of an introduction and get started. Great. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're very happy to be hosting another edition of one of our Q&As. This time we have BlueSnap attending with us. So let's do a little bit of housekeeping at first, and then we can just go fully and get started with our Q&A. I'm going to just move on to the slide. So as you can see, BlueSnap for NetSuite, global payments made simple. And we have a live Q&A with some experts that I'm going to be introducing right now. So let's get the least important thing out of the way first. That would be me. Hi, Marcelo Tisoni. I'm a project manager, lead right here at Tavano team. I have been with Tavano. This month is going to be 5 years. So I've been around the block quite a while, been part of many projects. So I'll be taking care of hosting duties today. So with us today, we have Michelle Walls. How are you doing, Michelle?
Hi, thank you for having us.
It's our pleasure. And then we also have Joe Twerk. How are you doing, Joe?
I'm doing great, Marcelo. Thanks for hosting and collaborating with us. We're excited to be here. I'm sales director at BlueSnap. So you've been with coming up on 5 years. I'm coming up on 13 years at BlueSnap.
Oh, wow.
So I'm the softball coach here. I'm the ping pong champion at BlueSnap. So all things sports related, and I also run sales related to our merchants that sign up with BlueSnap and want to use us for payment processing.
That is great. That sounds like 3 full-time jobs at the same time. You're doing very well, Mr. Jack of all trades.
My LinkedIn picture is me juggling, so
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's kind of the standard. Yeah, standard for my day-to-day is juggling.
Love it. Let's just continue. So this is a little bit of the agenda that we're going to be having today. So we have gone through the introductions, at least the people introductions, but we're going to be doing a little bit of introductions in terms of our companies, and then we're just going to move on to the live Q&A, and then we're going to have a little bit of a wrap up at the end. So let me just move over to this slide. So this is our Tavano slide. Just to give you an idea of who we are Tavano team. We are an award-winning agency. We have been in the NetSuite e-commerce environment for about 15 years. So you can say that we have quite a lot of experience. So basically, if you need anything that is related to design, development, any kind of customization, we ensure basically that we can get it done and we can help you grow. So again, as you can see, this is our slogan and many of the things that we do. So basically, we build, connect, grow, and support your NetSuite e-commerce. So as you can see, we have over 160 merchants that have used or are using our suite apps. We average about 29x return of investment. We have over 500 NetSuite clients. And we have over 6,500 hours of support each year for our customers. So yeah, this is us and basically what we do and how we can help you. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move over just a second and leave the floor to Joe and just ask him what does BlueSnap does.
Perfect. So at the heart of it, we're a global payment processor. So think of us as a better, modern, all-in-one solution that's going to give a lot more focus, a lot more consultation, support, proven ROI than, say, Stripe or PayPal or CyberSource or WorldPay or those type of guys. Just to give you guys a quick background. So BlueSnap, the idea of the name, Blue, it's cloud-based. Snap, it snaps right into your website or your commerce workflow. Or if your product has a mobile app, we're very mobile focused. If your solution is mostly driven through your ERP and invoicing or through your CRM type of invoicing, the idea is we can snap into that as well. So any of the systems that you use for your payment acceptance flows and revenue, the idea with BlueSnap's modern flexible technology is that it snaps into that payment flow to help optimize payment acceptance. And one of the things that we've done, so obviously we're extremely focused on the NetSuite ecosystem, and working closely with companies that have maybe started out and have hit a ceiling because now they need to support Europe as well as Australia, and their current provider is only US dollars and domestic out of the US, or vice versa. They started in Europe and they need to support North America, and their solution doesn't really tailor for that. We're highly focused on NetSuite. We have a tremendous success with BigCommerce as well. In fact, we're probably the leading solution provider for BigCommerce's big push into the B2B solution set and winning more and more B2B projects out in the marketplace. Our expertise and our payment solution is geared toward optimizing B2B, higher dollar amounts, unique workflows, unique payment methods, and really looking at each and every aspect of the transaction and making sure it has the best customer journey and experience so that their key clients are going to be very happy in the end, as well as making sure that their controller, finance, CFO is going to be happy because we're going to drive higher revenues and lower costs associated with them. At the heart of it, what BlueSnap says is we have built-in payment orchestration with processing and acquiring in 50 countries around the world, but allowing customers to accept payments in over 230 countries around the world. And our payment orchestration definition is that we're going to drive higher payment success rates, lower costs, give all of the embedded value-added services. So you see this visual here around things like payment optimizations, multiple currencies and payment methods, built-in risk management, risk mitigation, all of the compliance aspects to accept payments properly anywhere around the world, as well as fantastic reporting. So we do all of that for any use case and helping customers kind of reduce their technical debt. That's my 6-minute intro, Marcelo.
That is perfectly timed. Thank you so much, Joe.
Sure.
I've already seen quite a lot of questions that came in, but I do think that we can start with one that I think it's probably the most important thing of any business or service, right? Which is basically somebody asked, can you share any examples, for example, of businesses that have, successfully transitioned to BlueSnap and really made a mark with it?
Absolutely. It's like perfect question. And all right, so give me some scenarios here. So I would say if you think about what we're achieving every week, we've got multiple success stories around, and a lot of this is on our webpage, bluesnap.com. There's under resources is case studies. So examples of a global arts and crafts company. They're selling arts and crafts supplies to either directly to consumer, but a lot of B2B. So the retail shops, the folks that are at, in Etsy and whatnot. But again, this aspect of selling around the world and having multiple entities all over the world. Similar light with physical goods is sporting goods. We've done a lot of success in sporting goods. And then all of this actually translates into, we spend a lot of time with manufacturers that are either going through their digital transformation or financial transformations around replacing legacy solutions. And BlueSnap is a great fit for those manufacturers. If I then shift over to digital, we're doing a lot in the digital space related to SaaS companies. So everything from data analytics solutions, again, with multiple target markets around the world, IT management software solutions, classic SaaS companies. So those are some examples, Marcelo, of who we are doing business with and utilizing our solution, our flexible solution. We have over 10,000 customers that work with BlueSnap and growing. We've got a global team. We're handling billions of dollars in transactions. So pretty comprehensive and flexible solution.
That is great. I mean, I think at least from when I started to get to know BlueSnap and everything, like the thing that really caught my eye is that basically just being able to have a really versatile tool that helps everyone in terms of all industries. But apart from that, the other thing that really caught my eye was just how global you guys are and just basically how much you can help across very different markets and very different, regulations, if you want to put it in that sort of terms. So maybe this is another question that came in as well. So how does BlueSnap help you expand to basically multiple regions, multiple markets that are maybe I haven't done before?
Yeah, I think this is one of our biggest differentiators is this very hands-on consultative approach that we take with, when we work with partners like you guys that are saying, hey, we're hearing this potential project is going to run into an issue with their current provider because it cannot support this regulatory item in maybe France or Germany or something like that. BlueSnap is happy to jump in and be that expert, that source of knowledge related to what they're doing today and what that customer, that merchant is trying to achieve in the future. And then using our flexible solution, the idea is that our system is designed from the architecture standpoint, right from the get-go, to be multi-currency and multi-entity. And I think that's one of the biggest differences in the market is as you get into these other solutions, obviously there are a ton of vendors and competitors that we deal with every single day related to payment processing. But if you architect your system from day one with this concept of multi-entity, multi-currency, then it allows you to really hone in and provide that optimized solution to shrink sort of added fees like, extra cross-border fees and assessments or impacts around foreign currency fees that the customer might incur or assessments that the card schemes are going to apply to the customer. So we're just expert at all of that. And then being able to utilize that architecture, the fact that we've got over 100 currencies, multiple payment methods that can be localized by currency. And then we look at each and every one of those transactions to make sure we're handling it in the most cost-effective manner.
I don't mean to bring too much of my experience of a project manager, but the first project that I've ever got had issues in terms of multi-currency, and along the years, that is something that has never changed because it's very, very complex. So having a solution that it's built from the ground up to take those things into consideration, I think that's just a great point.
Thank you. And I'll tell you a little story, if I can. We've been doing a lot for NetSuite customers, especially in like this growing SaaS space and and deploying our solution connected to NetSuite, but not in a classic SDN suite app manner. And so we were using other partners in a bundle and all that. But as we ramped up our own use of Oracle and Oracle's cloud and some other components, we got into strategic discussions at the top of the house with Oracle. And one of the biggest pain points that they were having that they highlighted to us is we really don't have a great, reliable multi-currency, multi-entity suite app for payments. We've got these point-to-point solutions. We've got somebody that we rely on, say, for Canada, and one person that can just do US and that type of thing, but nobody who can do it all. And that was very exciting and interesting to us. And so that's how we built our suite app, is to drive this easy multi-currency, multi-entity solution that solves all of these problems around the world. And what we found is that customers and even some of our partners are surprised that we actually can do it. Because I think there's been a lot of sort of failures or issues, in these projects, Marcelo, where it's like, okay, now what do we do? We can't support 3D Secure in Europe. How are we gonna, go live, like all that kind of stuff. So I think it's been a refreshing success related to our suite payments, our suite app and partnership with NetSuite.
That's just great to hear. Yeah, you mentioned 3D Secure, and I was just speaking with someone about this last week, and they didn't have a solution on that. So yeah,
Right.
for sure. So I can continue with another question that I think that it does in very well. This comes from Kyle. So basically, if I wanted to do an implementation of BlueSnap with NetSuite, how would that look? How is the process? How long does it typically take? What is the involvement that the customer needs to do?
Yeah, we make it very easy to do business with us. So as part of that upfront consultative engagement and understanding essentially all right, what is the scope that we need to support? What are the main areas? In a lot of these cases, Marcel, as you can imagine, as a project manager, it isn't this type of thing typically where it's this monolithic rip and replace type of a thing. You're typically sort of iterating, tackling, okay, your biggest pain point right now is you have no solution to support Canada, for example. So you need to support Canada and you need to go live by June 1st. Great. That's phase one. In order to do business with us, in order to get going, basically you have an online secure merchant application to set up your account with BlueSnap and send us the company information. And once we process payments where we can remit that payment to the merchant's designated bank account. And then the nice thing that we have is, first off, there's no cost associated with downloading, deploying, installing, and setting up our suite app. So that's another differentiator. There's a number of payment processing solutions on the market connected into NetSuite, for example, Stripe, where it costs thousands of dollars to get that, say, agency or that suite app connected into their environment. No cost with BlueSnap. Once we collect the information, we do an internal kickoff, and then we have a customer success implementation engineering team that works closely with the merchant. And typically there's always either an agency involved, the web agency that's going to tailor the screens and the setup, the SKUs, all of that type of thing that is involved. And we just have a regular weekly checkpoint. But again, no cost, no setup fees or professional services. You can go live with BlueSnap in days. I've seen customers come in, they need our suite app right away to get a payment link out to their customers or connect it up to their suite commerce solution that's going live next week. They can go live with BlueSnap in days. We are very modern, turnkey solution related to our compliance evaluation of merchants, our underwriting, our setup, and implementation. So we can go as fast as the agency and the merchant wants.
And how does the process looks like after you go live?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So once we go live, again, typically these are multi-phase solutions. So it's not kind of this thing where, again, you've got some of the other providers in the space where they just don't have a support model that stays engaged with that customer. We're the opposite. We are truly staying engaged. It's not a set it and forget it type of a thing. So we're going to iterate to constantly add other maybe payment methods, currencies, markets as part of the phase. And then we have a global support team that looks after that particular customer's business because we have no lock-in contract, no setup fees, no professional services or anything. So the way that we earn revenue, it's truly a partnership. The best way for us to be successful is for that merchant to grow and be successful. So we're always looking after their business and making sure it's on the trajectory that they expect and growing sales across their different use cases. And that's done with our customer success team. We've got a global support team. We use like everything from real-time chat to Zendesk ticketing, from phone calls and Slacks and emails and chat and all of that.
All of that really, if you were to ask me about what we do, I would probably tell you the same thing, right? The project and the relationship doesn't end the day you go live. That's actually kind of where it begins. So the idea is that we're gonna be with you all the way. So it's very nice to hear that from you. Yeah. We can move on to some of the other questions. I think many of the questions that came in were mostly they were related as well to just how can you give me in the sense of the customer, right? Autonomy. How can you make things simpler, much more streamlined, so I don't have to invest quite a lot of time. And one of the things that was mentioned is unified reporting. That was one of the questions that came in. So can you walk us through a little bit of that, of just how payment analytics are integrated into NetSuite? How is the reporting that you can get? How in-depth it is? Just maybe some examples.
Yeah, thanks for teeing that up. I think as we looked at this strategy in our architecture and what was happening in the market, one of the biggest pain points with a lot of the legacy credit card processors and PSPs out there is that the reporting is either too siloed or difficult to streamline the daily, weekly, or monthly reconciliation process for the controller and his or her team that's doing the cash applications and the accounting. And so as part of typically doing a maybe multi-gateway, multi-vendor consolidation, we really hone in on the expertise around our granular reporting and how to make it so that it's going to streamline the reconciliation process for that company. And then what we did with NetSuite was we took it a step further and we recognized that, okay, typically the accounting team is working in NetSuite all day long. That's their go-to system of record. So because of the way we've architected our reporting engine, all of it is exposed through an API layer. And we just set up, when you install our Suite app, you get real-time reporting for all of the events that BlueSnap is handling right inside of NetSuite. So this is a big differentiator for us and really an exciting and a highlight point for our merchants that install our Suite app. We have all of our real-time reporting sitting right inside of NetSuite to make it very easy for the merchant to look at that day's transactions or that week's remittance items that have hit their bank account, or for their monthly reconciliation process. So we took a little bit of an extra effort, extra time, and I think that's one of the things that allows our Suite Payments app to stand out.
Great. Thank you so much, Joe. Another question that came in from Mary. This is about just an overall different thing. So it's about streamlining payments. Can you explain a little bit more how BlueSnap's, the intelligent payment routing works and how can you reduce declines?
Yep. This is something that we looked at and we saw some of the legacy providers. We feel like we're in this, I guess, maybe third generation now of payments and payment acceptance, payment processing. And the prior two generations, they had the classic setup, Marcelo, where it was a single gateway for a single currency connected to a single bank. And you had a lot of issues related to that because you have single point of failure all over the place. And we felt like that was kind of not the right way to architect it and the right way to do it. So when we built this, and it's complex to build it, we do all the heavy lifting to manage all of this and normalize all of the reporting and the messaging and everything. In every region where we process, there are multiple acquiring banks in our network that we're routing transactions to. And so our intelligent payment routing is unique in the space because we have this built-in failover, built-in intelligence around every aspect of that transaction processing. So we're looking at, and we know, okay, in certain cases, large ticket B2B transactions have better costs and better authorization rates or lower declines through certain banks that are geared toward those types of transactions. Because not every bank is set up with their rule set to handle large ticket transactions. Maybe some indicate that as, wait a minute, this is too much risk. It might be fraudulent. Let's decline that. So we have all of that intelligence. We use that every single day as part of our real-time intelligent payment routing. And typically we're driving, I'd say, depending on the situation, 2 to 6% higher payment authorization rates for our customers than their legacy or incumbent providers. So there's this built-in ROI with our solution.
Great. I mean, to be honest, when I started to reading all of the questions, I was noticing like many different things that I never heard of before, and I wasn't even aware that, okay, this is really how much in depth this is, and like the incredible amount of effort that goes behind it. Another thing that came that it's really very much related about this as well is just how does the payment processing works across different countries with varying payment methods. How I'm assuming that you might have like very specific rules and logics for every single country. How do you manage all of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's complicated, but usually every major region and every country, typically, for example, in B2B, has a specified local bank transfer solution that their customers are used to paying. Instead, like, because not every country is going to have credit cards as sort of the default payment for maybe an online transaction or an invoice payment. So BlueSnap supports not only card processing globally, but also bank transfers globally. And that's really important. So making sure that we're handling all of the regulatory compliance, the mandates associated with each of these bank-to-bank transfers in country is part of what we've built out and certified. And that's really nice because then either the commerce platform doesn't have to worry about that, the merchant doesn't have to worry about it, the agency, we handle all the heavy lifting associated with that. And each of those bank transfers, there's nuances for all of them related to settlement timing and fee structures and things like that. So we handle all of that stuff. That's where, again, you get our expertise in consulting around, supporting this global scale, digital transformation or consolidation of gateways.
Thank you, Joe. Another question that came in, and this is from Victoria. I was wondering, how does BlueSnap help minimize cross-border fees?
Hmm.
And maybe this is a question by myself. What are cross-border fees?
Yeah, so cross-border fees apply when you're taking a credit card payment or a debit card payment online, and say, for example, the shopper in that case is out of London, but the merchant is running the business out of the US. What BlueSnap does is we recognize, wait a minute, you've got a number of your customer base or your shopper base in London. You also have an office out of the UK or a dealer distribution group, a sales office out of the UK. We can leverage that office to make sure that that transaction gets the local interchange within the UK to eliminate that 100 basis points cross-border fee that Visa and MasterCard charge because it's a cross-border transaction. And there are, I would say we probably have at least a dozen visuals and explanation articles on our website about how to optimize this, how this works, and to allow you to understand it more and say, hey, is this something that BlueSnap can really help me in my particular use case with? So you could Google um, cross-border payment optimization BlueSnap, and you would come up with a lot of those visuals, blogs, articles that we've posted.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. We received a question that was live through the chat. I
Okay.
unfortunately didn't have the ability of knowing who asked it, but I'm just might as well go ahead and ask the question
Okay.
in case that person is still viewing the Q&A. So it's basically, how does this solution compare with other payment options for NetSuite?
Yeah, I think yeah, that's the where the rubber meets the road, right? Is typically with BlueSnap, you've got again all of this global payment acceptance capability, so it supports multiple currencies, multiple payment methods, and any of the use cases that um, merchants have within their NetSuite flow. So it could be they're using suite billing um, for certain percentage of their customers and invoices, but they also have maybe a suite commerce solution for certain products and SKUs that customers can order in a DIY fashion. BlueSnap can be the solution for all of that. And I think where we differentiate is we've got all of the real-time reporting built in, all of the multi-entity, multi-currency solution built in, all of the different NetSuite use cases and flows, workflows, suite scripting, my account, suite billing, everything, sales order, everything that you could ever imagine, because we built our suite app at the core of NetSuite's framework. You can utilize us for everything. So it allows merchants to kind of consolidate the vendors. And again, it doesn't, you don't have to pay upfront to get the app, to install it and get it configured. You get our customer success team just as part of sign up for BlueSnap. So that's, and I think the other part, Marcelo, that it supports all of the regulatory things that are going on. So obviously in Europe, you need to have 3D Secure built into your flow for every single transaction over 35 euros that you're accepting payments on. We have that built into the certification as part of our SDN solution. We also have dynamic risk and fraud protection built into the solution. So it's very comprehensive. And I think that's how it differentiates. There's a lot of kind of old legacy suite apps out there that either just do one currency, maybe aren't as cost effective, maybe don't drive payment as high payment authorization rates as we do.
Great. So a jack of all payment related
That's
ways.
it. Used to be
Yeah.
called the all-in-one payment processing solution. Then we started to recognize where the market was going. And so then we started using the orchestration solution, because really what we do is have that orchestration across B2C, B2B, intelligent payment routing, all of the use cases, all of the technical debt consolidation. So
That's great. Thank you, Joe. One of the things that you've mentioned that it was part of another question that Mike asked before the Q&A started that really caught my eye is just how can we automate basically payment reconciliation across with BlueSnap?
because we're integrated at the heart of sort of the NetSuite framework, every transaction that we process syncs back directly into NetSuite to mark that invoice or sales order paid. So it streamlines that entire reconciliation process and allows basically operational efficiencies to occur for that customer. Versus a lot of times what happens is you have this disjointed process, whether you're talking about online commerce transactions versus paid invoices and things like that. And it's not this truly integrated, consolidated. So that's what we do.
Got it. Thank you, Joe.
Yep.
This one is more from me as well. I've been a project manager for many, many years and done quite a lot of Suite Commerce implementations. So I was wondering, how does BlueSnap fit and help Suite Commerce?
Yeah, I think with those it's even easier than sometimes having a separate third party commerce platform, because all the data is automatically mapped and synced to NetSuite, based off of workflows and as part of that solution. We are the payment engine connected into that Suite Commerce checkout flow. Just like we would be the payment engine and payment processor connected to kind of a pay by link Suite billing flow. So it's natively connected into their Suite Commerce checkout solution. And again, it supports all of the features and capabilities that I've talked about related to 3D Secure, related to multi-currency. We've even rolled out and support mobile wallets as part of our offering. So I think it's again this idea of flexibility, global, mobile focused, as well as native. That's our approach.
Yeah, and I just know that many of the features that you mentioned are really pains that I've heard from many, many customers along the many years. So it's just incredible, because sometimes they need to have a solution that it's 2 or 3 different things, like a Frankenstein of sorts, just to do that one thing that one company should do. So it's very good that BlueSnap is able to do that.
Well, that's like the example of the case study on our website with the art supplies company, as they started out and they thought they would be able to utilize the Suite app globally that they picked for their initial North America launch. But then they realized, wait a minute, it doesn't have 3D Secure built in to support UK and Europe. It can't support those currencies from a processing or presentment and settlement point of view. So now we're set up with this Frankenstein approach. We've got maybe one vendor here, one vendor here, one vendor here. Guess what? That adds a lot of complexity, operational inefficiencies, vendor cost, reconciliation issues. So the idea is, wait a minute, let's just use BlueSnap for all of it, and ending result is a very happy customer.
Great. Thank you so much, Joe. I think we're closely getting to wrapping up, but I do have one question that I think it's probably very interesting and to take into account. what are other, additional NetSuite features that businesses should consider, using with BlueSnap just to maximize everything that it is related about payments?
Yeah, I think I learn something new every day related to these projects. Going to the Suite Connect shows or the next week I'm at the um, user group shows in Charlotte and Raleigh in North Carolina. Um, I find that there are all of these advancements that are happening, whether it's things like subscription management and billing, recurring billing with subscription plans. We're running into a lot of great customers that have a combination of physical goods and then a recurring billing or subscription model associated with using that particular item. And like the sporting goods is a good example of that. So I think that's another good one. There are, as I learn more and more, there are certain things that people have said are challenging related to the way that NetSuite has designed their kind of subscription capabilities. And there's some other third parties that can help overlay and improve on that. But regardless, that's a big area of focus of ours because we know that subscription um, uh, business models are incredibly enticing for businesses to get into. And that's a big area of focus for us.
Great. Thank you so much, Joe. And thank you guys for your time. This was great. It was very in-depth. I'm coming out learning quite a lot of things. So I really appreciate the time that you, Joe, and you, Michelle, have taken today with us. All of Tavano appreciates it. I don't know, guys, if you have any kind of closing remarks before I get to my housekeeping.
No,
For
I
me,
just,
I'm sorry, Michelle. I was just going to say I really appreciate the dialogue with you, Marcelo, and I really appreciate you hosting.
yeah, I was gonna
Thank
say
you.
the same thing as a partner manager here. Really appreciate you hosting and, giving us the opportunities. So thank you.
It was a pleasure to have you guys, and we hope to have you again. Let me just do a very small housekeeping. So thanks everybody for coming in, for registering, for listening, for asking questions. We really appreciate it. We just want to let you know that after we wrap this up, we're going to be sending out a link of the recording, and we're also going to be sending out a document that has all of the questions, all of the answers, and any other kind of link that was shared throughout the call. It's going to be there. So if there was anything that you might have missed and you're worried about it, do not be worried about it. You're going to get it. Everything is going to be there. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, and we hope to see you in another edition of our Q&As. Thank you so much, everyone.
Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Likewise. Bye-bye.